So Palmy just got a community day. Does that mean it's any good? No, this Pokemon sucks. I don't know how they did it, but they made a worse calm day than last month's with Vanillux. This Pokemon getting access to Brick Break was by no means what it needed to be any good. It needed a better bait move, or it needed potentially a better fast move, and because it got neither of those, this Pokemon is kind of sad. With that said, I wanted to give it a go just to see how bad it was, and let me tell you, while it was able to do a couple surprising things today, it was not that good. So let's get into the battles and see what it can do. Let's get right on into the first battle of the day. Our Pawmot is our lead up against a Primeape, and this is where you're going to see the first glaring issue of Pawmot. It is a very slow Pokemon. You can see they're already at a rage fist. It could even be a close combat. I have to no-shield because at this point, I can't really do much in the extended scenario. We call the rage fist bait, which is good, but look at how much damage it does. All they need to do is shield once, farm us all the way down, then come out with a boosted Primeape as well as a ton of energy. In comes the full farm down. You can see they're already at about half HP thanks to our spark damage and that Brick Break debuff, but this is still not a great spot to be in. Togetic can come in here, absorb the energy. I'm hoping they're not on Ice Punch. I've recently featured Ice Punch Primeape in a tournament video. Make sure to check that out on the channel if you're interested in a Pokemon like that, but this is not running Ice Punch from the looks of it here. Primeape is still boosted, though. These moves will add up quite a bit over time. We're already in the red on our Togetic. This is not looking great for us right now. Primeape getting through about 2 of our Pokemon already, and in the back line, I'm going to see a Pidgeot. We go for the Dazzling Gleam. It's not like Diggersby is a great answer to this Pokemon, so we do end up getting some nice chip. We come in Diggers, and we're going to try to throw a Fire Punch when we can. With that said, I have no idea what their moveset's going to be. It could be a Fire Punch, or rather, it could be a Feather Dance, or a Brave Bird, so it's really going to come down to what their moveset is to see how much play we have. We shield a potential Brave Bird, but we get Feather Danced, and in comes a Diggersby. This is not looking great for us right now. Unfortunately, Pawmot not able to put enough work in that lead matchup to really set us up in the back. In comes this Diggersby. They do survive that first Scorching Sands very nicely because of that Feather Dance debuff. We are at -2 attack, meaning our attacks do 50% less damage every single time. You can just see how little damage we're doing in this mirror match. In comes a Scorching Sands from them. We did not get a single debuff, which is very tragic, and they are going to be able to get a debuff, I guess, as well. I mean, we are now at -3, doing 75% less damage than normal. I can, I guess, swap and clear the debuff, but this is still looking pretty bad for us, right? There is going to be a pretty healthy Diggersby with a ton of energy, a Pidgeot still in the back line. Not much we could do here in this game. Let's get into the next match here, see if we can make something else happen. Okay, much better lead scenario, but honestly, these poison jabs are still going to add up. We're talking about how squishy Pawmot is. Our super effective sparks are doing so much less damage than these poison jabs. In the longer scenario here in this matchup, there's a good chance they can just shield once, maybe shield twice, farm us all the way down. Wild Charge, okay, one-shots them. Hold on. We'll take it. I guess they didn't realize we could one-shot him there. GG, I guess, to our opponent. Very cool stuff. Next game, a very bad lead for us, though. Shadow Quagsire in the lead. A Pokemon that we are ABA weak to. Our Diggersby going to try its best, though, to be a neutral answer to this. I know it's not a great spot to be in, but Diggersby's pretty bulky, right? 2 Aqua Tails aren't going to two-shot us here. Mudshot as well, if they don't have the break point, is not going to put us into that two-shot range anywhere near as soon as they'd like. In comes the Scorching Sands. I'd love to see a debuff, but our opponent does dodge that 30% chance. Aqua Tail number 2 coming through this will be able to put us pretty low, but we will survive it knowing that Diggersby is very bulky. And at this point, I mean, at the very least, okay, we've whittled down the Quagsire. We have also lured out this Pokemon, which we can get a nice farm down with our Togetic against. And look at that, we're able to swap in, so we even save a Diggersby as a potential catch later on. With that said, this Pokemon could have access to like Iron Head, maybe Rock Slide. We will no-shield this move either way, though I know Togetic, that is probably not in the best spot because they're already pretty weak to it. And yeah, their third Pokemon obviously not going to be a third weakness to this flying and fairy type Pokemon. In comes a Dazzling Gleam. Let's see what we can do here. Our opponent, they opt to shield that move. That's kind of crazy. I don't really know what they're expecting to shield there. I'll take it, though. I mean, I don't know if Togetic has any moves that can even do anything less than resisted. I think it's like Aerial Ace and Ancient Power are its other options. So they double shield. Hold on. There might actually be a chance for us to make a catch as well with our Diggersby. Okay, this might actually be a bit of a Pawmot sweep in the endgame. There's a chance for us at the very least. Pawmot is very slow to the charge moves, but if I can reach a Wild Charge against them, maybe I can knock them out since I got both shields. Nice one-turn lag there on entry. Love to see it. Pawmot is going to try its best, though, to shield up a Bulldoze, which, while it wouldn't one-shot, especially after that debuff, it's going to do a lot of damage with the fast moves, and we're going to see that they try to catch on a Quagsire, but they were pretty close to their move anyway. We'll throw the Wild Charge, make sure we don't have to double shield, and now all Pawmot needs to do is get to another Wild Charge before this Tinkaton gets to 2 more Bulldozes. In comes the first of the 2 Bulldozes. I can shield this move up, go for another Wild Charge in just a second. And this game, it might be a win. Okay, hold on, Pawmot. Getting to the Wild Charge here. We kind of got bailed out by our opponent, 2 shielding with the Dazzling Gleams against our Togetic there. But, you know, we'll take it. Sometimes that's what Pawmot needs to win a game. All right, next matchup, another good lead. Greninja, a Pokemon that our backline doesn't really want to see, at least especially our Diggersby wouldn't. They safe swap a Shadow Amoonguss, maybe a misplay here. I come in with our Togetic, but I am expecting them not to have Sludge Bomb. Will no-shield the move, and fortunately for us, it is just a foul play. I have Psyshock, which is super effective, but our Fairy Winds are resisted by this Poison-type Pokemon, meaning Psyshock will not one-shot or put them into a fast move farm down range, at least not anywhere near as soon as I'd like it to. With that said, another Psyshock already being reached. This is going to do quite a bit of damage to our opponent. They did foul play us, so I would assume they're going to go for another foul play in just a second. We should be able to survive and maybe even either force more energy from them or get another Psyshock off against them. Foul play number 2 doesn't do too much damage. I'm kind of surprised they're also not going for either Grass Knot or whatever their other charge move is going to be. Foul play is probably the least efficient option they could throw there, but this is still fine. That's kind of the kind of plays you need to see if you want any chance of winning with a Pawmot. We do shield the Hydro Cannon from this Greninja. We have Brick Break as well ready to go. This will either knock them out or lower their defense stat to give us a nice farm down, but our opponent lets that go, and now Pawmot is going to be faced off against Claydol of all things. Not exactly what I want to see, but I can reach a Parting Wild Charge, which, while it is resisted quite heavily by the ground typing, I should say, it will do a decent amount of chip damage, at least put them into the range where a Scorching Sands plus a Fire Punch from our Diggersby could be enough to knock out. I'm going to wait out our switch clock here. I also have energy on our Togetic. I'm going to come in with this right now, knowing Mud Slaps will not do too much damage. If our opponent lets this go, I can just go straight Fire Punch with Diggersby. They do let it go. In comes that Amoonguss, and at this point, I would assume they are on grass, not saying they did not throw a Sludge Bomb against our Togetic. Yeah, we do shield the Grass Knot, and now we can quick attack all the way down. Go for the Fire Punches, maybe the Scorching Sands as well, against the Claydol, and we can take the win in this match. Fire Punch number 1 being thrown. If they no-shield this, I just farm down. If they shield this up, I can go for a Scorching Sands. Yeah, not quite enough bulk on this Claydol to survive. And even if they do have Ice Beam, it's not going to one-shot us by any means here. Claydol is not that offensive. Scorching Sands even is going to be the move of choice, does even less than they'd like. All right, next matchup, Pawmot in the lead up against a Shadow Drifblim. Okay, well, while we do have super effective fast food pressure, I almost wouldn't be surprised, yeah, with how squishy we are. We're actually taking more fast food pressure from them than we're doing with our super effective move, despite taking neutral damage. Pawmot is just so squishy. We go for the Wild Charge. Maybe I should have baited there, but I don't know at this point. I just had to go and hope they, no-shield the Brick Break bait. We do catch a move. I didn't really try to catch the move, though. I wanted to just make it so I could clear my debuff, not give him a full farm down with our Pawmot, because honestly, that Drifblim in the backline of ours is looking pretty scary. We end up baiting out an Alolan Sandslash, which is very nice to see. I know A-Slash is a tricky Pokemon for our team. Even though we do have a fighting-type Pokemon and a ground type, it's not necessarily the best fighting or the best ground type into this Ice and Steel-type Pokemon. I have a second Fire Punch ready to go. This won't be able to knock out likely because they will shield this, but if they did let it go, it would get the KO. They do end up double shielding their A-Slash here, which means now at this point I have to land a Fire Punch if I want to knock them out, but I am very concerned they might go for a catch here in just a second. With that said, Diggersby is going to have to throw instantly, but they go for the catch. They were very close to the Ice Punch, so I did have to throw the move, but our opponent making a very nice play, catching the move on that Shadow Drifblim. At this point, I'm going to try to Spark down. We do get the full farm down, but honestly, now their A-Slash might just farm us down here. Since we don't have a Brick Break now, this is not looking great. A-Slash has a lot of energy. I know I don't get a Fire Punch before they have the Ice Punch. In fact, they have an Ice Punch right now, so my only hope is that their final Pokemon is weak to our Togetic, and that a Psyshock can knock them out before a second Ice Punch will be reached. Ice Punch number 1 being thrown, it does a massive amount of damage, but we can outpace to the Psyshock. Is this enough? It's a non-Shadow A-Slash here. Our opponent is able to survive. They are unfortunately able to reach a move. At this point, I just want to see what's in the back. Was there any chance for us if we didn't end up getting caught on in this game? Let's see, Quick Attack would have knocked them out, but they come in with Primeape. Honestly, yeah, there could have been a chance, because Togetic into Primeape would have been very nice in the back line, but GG to our opponent. Very nice catch. All right, bit of an interesting lead matchup here. The Fortress, I guess this might be kind of good for us here, saying we do resist the electric-type fast food pressure, but we do have to keep in mind Pawmot is also going to be very concerned about the charge moves. Rock Tomb would not one-shot us necessarily. Well, after that debuff on our defense stat, it definitely would, but Earthquake definitely would also one-shot us. I will shield. I think at this point, thanks to that no-shield, I might be able to farm all the way down, have energy for the backline. Maybe I can put that to good use later on in this game. They have a Claydol they swap in. I don't want to take that Mud Sap. I swap into my Diggersby here, knowing that if they stayed in that lead matchup, there's a good chance Palmott at least has a bit more play in the backline than it would against his Claydol. In comes a Scorching Sands once again. Seems to be the moveset of choice here in this meta, which is kind of interesting. It seems like an open Great League. Ice Beam is very often the move of choice, but Scorching Sands, a very strong move. I'm using it on my Diggersby, and thanks to their debuff here, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to quite two-shot them with my Fast Pressure plus my charge moves. In comes another Scorching Sands. I should easily survive this attack. Our opponent, though, does end up swapping out to a Spiritomb, which, while this isn't the worst-case scenario, it could be a little bit tricky. I do have my Togetic, Uh, I don't know where Spiritom's face went there for just a second, but we're still able to swap into our Togetic, try our best to shield up these Rock Tombs, maybe go for a bait with the Psyshock. At this point, they have to shield something in this match. Our opponent does go for the Rock Tomb, and now our Togetic able to go for a Charge Move here in just a second. But at this point, I am a little bit worried. These Fairy Winds have done quite a bit less damage than I thought they would. Psyshock also being called. Great bait call by our opponent. I'm going to try to go for another Psyshock here. Our opponent could call this if they want to. I feel like that'd be a little bit crazy, but our opponent, the crazy person they are, calls that bait. Honestly, we're kind of throwing this game away. Maybe I should have just come in Pawmot into this Pokemon. Now our Togetic is out of the way. They have 2 shields for a Claydol. Yeah, I misplayed the end of the game here pretty hard. I should not have done that, I guess. But GG there to our opponent. Palmott making me make some weird plays. All right, next matchup. You might expect this to be a good lead of fighting type Pokemon into a normal type as well as a Sucker Punch user. But the thing is, we just get outpaced by these Swifts. Brick Break is not a strong move. We do get a shield, which is kind of nice here. But if they ever throw a Swift, I guess they're going to swap out here, which is kind of interesting. If they did throw a Swift, though, it basically one-shot us, so it's kind of interesting they did end up swapping. With that said, we got a shield already. I'm going to go for a Wild Charge, so Pawmot actually kind of putting in some work in this game. I got a shield, and I got nearly a KO against this Charmer. I'm going to come in Diggersby, go for a full farm down. I know that this Pokemon, well, it could have Play Rough. That was way too quick. Either a Body Slam or a Psychic Fang coming through. Looks like they will debuff our defense stat with that Psychic type attack. And now we farm all the way down. We have a lot of energy on Diggersby. Let's see what they have in the back. They might bring in their first Pokemon. They might bring back in whatever the third Pokemon's going to be. Looks like Furt is going to come in here. We try to catch a Trailblaze if we can, but they end up going for a Swift instead, which would have been the move to throw against me anyway. And in comes a Corviknight. This Pokemon is a very awkward Pokemon for our flying and fairy type Pokemon to see. Obviously, Steel is super effective against us, but the thing is, they don't have fast pressure against me. I don't have a lot of fast pressure against them, but I do have a shield advantage. We'll shield up this attack here and see what we can do. They go for Sky Attack as well, which leads me to believe they're on Sky Attack and Payback, which is slightly better for me right now. It means that they're pacing to moves against our Togetic is going to be a lot slower than they'd like it to be, and you can see just how much damage we end up doing. Okay, I go for the combo play. I kind of forgot which side my Fire Punch was on. We go for the Scorching Sands. We get a shield, I guess, which is good, but a bit of a misplay by me there. With that said, I think that we're still in a decent spot, but I could have had one extra quick attack of energy if I would have gone for the proper move against that Corviknight. In comes a Scorching Sands against this Furt. This will not knock them out, but it will put them pretty low into a nice farm down range, and that attack drop is going to make it so I'm going to take a lot less damage from whatever move they're going to throw. Swift likely would not knock us out. In comes the Charge Move. Yeah, just a Swift here, and quick attacks are adding up quite a bit. Are they at another Charge Move, or will they end up getting farmed down? No Swift going to be thrown against our Togetic, and now Corviknight into our Togetic. Can we win with our Fairy into the Steel-type Pokemon? I think at this point, saying they are not on Iron Head, I should be able to outpace, go for the Dazzling Gleam, and either knock them out with this Charge Move or Fairy Wind them down just barely before the next Charge Move will be reached. Not quite enough to KO, but the next few Fairy Winds will knock out the Corviknight. GG to our opponent. Next matchup, Pawmot into Tinkaton. Not a great lead matchup. We're pretty AVA weak to this Pokemon. And obviously here, while we do have Wild Charge, they have super effective Bulldoze as well as Fairy Wind damage. We'll try to catch a Bulldoze if we can on our Diggersby and see what we can do from here. We do make a catch, and unfortunately for us, no defense drop, which means now we will not be taking any extra damage, and we wasted a lot of energy from that Tinkaton. In comes this Scorching Sands. While this will not do a lot of damage to them, it will add up over time. No attack drop, unfortunately for us here with that charge move, but with that said, it will still take them 2 charge attacks to knock out our Diggersby with this Jellicent. Surf number 1 is going to do a decent amount of damage. Thanks to that Bulldoze chip, they are actually able to 2-shot us. While normally this is a bit of an awkward 2-shot for Jellicent, which is kind of a bad thing for me here. I'm going to come back and Pawmot. I go for the Brick Break bait. Maybe this is a bad idea. The thing is, I didn't want to debuff my defense stat. There's a chance they shield this, but they let it go, which is so bad for us right now. Pawmot is absolutely struggling right now. I go for the Brick Break this time, knowing that they probably have to shield with how much energy they have on their Tinkaton. And comes a Brick Break. Dude, I need to stop shielding or stop baiting these moves. A double no shield from our opponent, meaning now this Bulldoze will knock us out, and we are not in that good of a spot. With that said, our Diggersby does have a lot of energy here, and thanks to the Fire Punch likely being enough to knock them out, I can probably eliminate this Tinkaton before our Togetic has to see it. We have properly danced around this game, which is very nice to see, but they still have a Jellicent, and we have not even seen their third Pokemon in this game. In comes that Jelly once again here. I go for the Scorching Sands. Maybe I should have baited, because this is a likely shield from them right now, but it could be a no-shield. I've baited too many times in this game. I'm kind of scarred from our opponent calling every single move of mine, so we ended up full sending, and now in comes either a Shadow Ball or a Surf into our Togetic. They end up full sending a Shadow Ball here. Their final Pokemon revealed as a Shadow Dusknoir, and I have a glimmer of hope right now. They throw on alignment as well, giving me an extra Fairy Wind of damage and energy, but I think I hate to say it, I think I have to bait if I want to be able to get a Dazzling Gleam off into this Pokemon before I'm going to be able to get this next Shadow Punch into my Togetic. We do bait the Psyshock there, but in comes the Dazzling. Then we got the shield. I don't think this is enough, though, to knock out. So even with that bait, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. They will be able to just barely reach a charge move. I think our win con right now is they don't swap out. I quick attack down, and I can reach a charge move against the Jelly before we get knocked out by a charge move here in just a second. But no, they can swap out. Just a little bit too little energy on our Diggersby. They can knock us out with the Surf. GG to our opponent there. Very nice bait calls. Unfortunately, not the best calls by me. Next matchup here, we're going to see Pawmot up against an Alolan Sandslash, fighting type into a Steel and Ice type Pokemon. You'd have to imagine this would be good for us, right? No, we actually get outpaced pretty heavily here to these Ice Punches, and while it's not super effective or anything, look at how much damage this is going to do. Basically puts us into range where the next couple of Powder Stones will knock us out before we get another Brick Break. I'm just going to play out the zeros. No, that's my one shot at getting any sort of advantage. They actually let that go, which is kind of crazy to me. If I were them, I would have shielded and farmed all the way down, but I'm very happy that they did let that go, because now I can just win switch advantage, align my Fairy type Pokemon into the Dark and Fighting type, and potentially be able to farm this all the way down. They throw a move, which kind of makes me wonder, what are they going to throw against us right now? They are actually running Iron Head. First time I've actually seen that moveset in the wild here. I knew it was a possibility. I always, whenever I see this Pokemon, I'm like, they could have this move. This one finally did actually have the attack here. In comes the Dazzling Gleam. They do end up shielding that move properly, and now Diggersby going to come in to try its best to whittle down this Jellyfish. Surf number 1, you can see, is not quite enough to two-shot us here, but because Hex damage will add up over time, and since these switch clocks are desynced, they might be able to land a Surf, get us into Karate Chop downrange as well if I were to no-shield that move. So I end up going for the shield. I go for a Scorching Sands as well against this Jellicent, hoping for an attack drop, but either way, at this point, I just want to make sure we can get any sort of damage into this Pokemon that we can. In comes the Pangoro once again. I would expect them to no-shield this move, but we'll see what our opponent wants to do. They do let it go. I undercharge to give us a bit of energy on our Togetic. At this point, we're already at a Psyshock, and I think we're still just barely outside of range where a Surf would knock us out on our Diggersby. Psyshock able to put them pretty low as well. Might just be into fast move farm down range, honestly, at this point. So I think the play is going to be shield this, fairy wind them down as much as we can. Maybe go for a Psyshock if we can here, but I think at this point, fast move pressure will be enough to win us this match. Psyshock being thrown, does our opponent want to invest their shield, or do they think it's over? Our opponent clinging on to hope does shield the attack up here. They will throw energy into our Togetic. They cannot quite farm us down, meaning now our Diggersby either has to reach a Fire Punch or Quick Attack down before getting knocked out by a charge move from this Jellicent. In comes our Diggersby. We're able to Quick Attack down. GG to our opponent. Very close endgame. Next matchup is a Pawmot into a Galarian Corsola. Not exactly the best scenario to be in. I know we're a little bit ABA soft to this Pokemon. Honestly, you could say that about half the meta, because Pawmot is just so bad here. I go instantly for the Wild Charge. This is a chance they no-shield this, but maybe I should have gone for like a Brick Break bait. No, they do shield the move up here, which is not very good for us right now. In comes a full farm down. We don't even reach a second charge attack. I probably shouldn't have done that. Now we have given them 100 energy, and while Diggersby does absorb all the damage here, they can just swap out, bait out our one anti-fighter. This is likely going to be the Corsola double fighting type team. If that is the case, we're in a lot of trouble. Rage just coming through is going to be able to do a decent amount of our HP, but because we're able to land a Psyshock of our own, either drawing our shield, or their shield, or maybe just getting a knockout from them, depending on how they want to play this out, it will be an interesting endgame. Corsola does come back in, and we know it has 100 energy right now. We have to shield up either a Nightshade or even a Power Gem would one-shot us from this range, so we will shield it up. They go for the Nightshade bait, and now I'm going to go for a Psyshock to see if I can either get some damage or a shield from this Pokemon. We're going to try to catch a move if we can on Diggersby, but very good patience by our opponent. They swap into Pangoro the second that I swap into Diggersby, and now I'm not quite sure where we can win this game. Scorching at this point can get no shielded from our opponent if they want to. I undercharge because at this point I feel like Diggersby is just dead weight to us right now. They'll reach 2 close combats one way or another, so what I want to do instead is get a farm down with our Togetic. They go for close combat here, they go for another charge move because they kind of have to before I reach another charge attack here, but I think this is still not looking great. Because of that defense drop, I'm only going to get 1, maybe 2 Fairy Winds. Okay, 3, maybe that's enough here. I need to get to 2 more Psyshocks to have any chance to win this game, but I don't think that we're going to be able to do it quite yet. I am at a lot of energy right now, but I'm going to have to do another 2 Fairy Winds to get the move. I think they might have the next charge attack right now. If I could have got 1 extra Fairy Wind, maybe if I would have undercharged a little bit more on our Diggersby, we could have got that Psyshock, which might have been enough to knock out this Corsola, but barely not able to reach the move here. And unfortunately, our Palmott in the lead just kind of did nothing for us, set us up for failure in the backline. All right, Pawmot once again into the Ghost-type Pokemon in the lead. Let's see what we can do here. Spark trying its best to do something, but honestly, Spark is just such a sad move nowadays. I'm going to try to survive a move. I think this might be one of the few moves that you can survive, but I'm going to Shadow Punch from this Dusclops. Still nearly knocks us out here. Might as well just go for the full send of this Wild Charge. Let's see if our opponent will shield this attack up or not. In comes Wild Charge, and our opponent does opt to shield, meaning now they get a full farm down, which is actually pretty scary, saying our backline matchups does not want to take these Ice Punches, and at this point, I'm not sure where exactly we want to take the energy. I come in Diggersby, but fortunately for us, our opponent gives us just a little bit of leeway. They come in with the Pangoro. I catch a move likely just going to be a Night Slash here, but either way, we're in a much better spot than we were just a second ago. We're able to Fairy Wind this all the way down, and at this point start spamming out charge moves either against the Dusclops or whatever their final Pokemon might be. Once again, I wouldn't be surprised if this is some sort of Ghost Double Fighter team with a Primeape in the backline. If that is the case, I want to keep our Togetic around, and I want to make sure I can neutralize that Dusclops. Post combat being thrown, it does do a decent chunk of damage to us, despite being very much resisted. In comes that Dusclops once again, Dazzling Gleam being thrown. Does our opponent opt to shield? Gleam coming through, our opponent does let it go, and now I can go for a Psyshock in just a second. But our opponent throwing on alignment gives us a full Fairy Wind Sneak. Shadow Punch getting a shield from us. In comes our next Psyshock here. And while this opponent does have a lot of energy, I know as long as we have enough energy to outpace a potential Shadow Primeape in the backline, we should be in a good spot, and our opponent actually just opts to let that move go. It is, in fact, a Shadow Primeape, just as we thought. I can just shield up this Rage Fist, go for a back-to-back Psyshock, which should easily win us this game. Rage Fist being thrown is not able to knock us out thanks to that shield. In comes a Psyshock. Our opponent at this point is not going to be able to get another Rage Fist off. Psyshock number 1 comes through, it gets a shield, and the second one being thrown right after. This should knock out the Primeape. It is a very squishy Pokemon. Togetic getting a nice little endgame sweep here. GG to our opponent. Next matchup, we're going to see that we have a Pawmot up against a Diggersby. Honestly, not a great Pokemon to see. I'm kind of surprised this is the first time we've seen a Diggersby lead. Seems like Diggersby is one of the best Pokemon in this meta. We end up baiting out a Pidgeot, which is not the worst case scenario, honestly. It's not amazing for us, but the thing is, Pidgeot is going to be able to absorb a lot of our charge move pressure, because while we do have a lot of neutral pressure with Fire Punch and Quick Attack, they're not going to do as much as, obviously, the Scorching Sands would do in a neutral matchup, so it is a little bit awkward. They also go for an Air Cutter, and they get an attack boost, so that 30% chance really going to come in clutch for them right now. I'm still hoping, though, that Diggersby is bulky enough to survive the next Air Cutter and maybe get a shield or flip switch advantage if we can in this game. In comes another charge attack. It's going to be yet another Air Cutter. We do survive the move. We reach a Fire Punch, and at this point, Diggersby either going to draw a shield or potentially flip switch against his Flying-type Pokemon. Our opponent, despite the early boost, is able to get knocked out by that move, and now in comes their own Diggersby to wall all of our energy. Looks like they're going to get a nasty Quick Attack down against us. I'm hoping that whatever is in the back line, our Palmott can at least have a little bit of play into, because Togetic is going to be very much whittled down by all the Fire Punches it's going to take. Unfortunately, just barely do not reach a Fire Punch here against this Diggersby, which means they get a huge farm down, and it's still above half HP. In comes a Fire Punch. Once again, though, the Fire Punches are a little bit less efficient than if they were to be able to throw Scorching Sands against us, so it is nice to tank the energy on Togetic. In comes our own Togetic here. We know Fairy Wind is super effective against the Fighting-type Pokemon, as well as the Psyshock, so we will shield up the attack here and try our best to maybe go for a crazy play. Can we get a Brick Break shield against a Fairy and Flying-type Pokemon? I'm going to try, and we do get it. For once in our lives, Pawmot getting a proper bait. Love to see that. And now I'm going to try to at least whittle this down into a range where it's much more manageable for our own Togetic to win this endgame. I feel like at this point, not much reason to bait here. If they call the bait and it doesn't knock out, that is catastrophic. So full send the Wild Charge. It does get the shield, which is nice to see, and it was on CMP, which means that our Pawmot will go down, but it kind of did something, I guess, in this game, so that is very nice for us right now. In comes this Diggersby once again, and the thing is, they are 4 away from a Psyshock on that Togetic, so as long as I can knock out this Diggersby, as well as have a Psyshock in just 3 more Fairy Winds after knocking this Pokemon out, I should be able to win this match. Psyshock number 1 coming through. I know Gleam would not be quite enough to knock him out here. Instead, going for 2 Psyshocks will be the more efficient play. Yet another Fire Punch already being thrown by this Diggersby here, but because I know I can overfarm perfectly, go for the Psyshock once again before the next Fire Punch and have enough energy to outpace their Togetic, I should be able to win this game. In comes Togetic once again, Psyshock being thrown. This will knock them out. Our Togetic able to close out this game despite an abysmal lead of Pawmot into that Diggersby there. GG to our opponent, our own Diggersby putting in a ton of work. Next matchup is Pawmot up against a Toxapex. We saw this earlier today. The one matchup where our opponent instantly no-shield was a fantastic one to see, but it looks like this time they do swap out into a Low Kicks, a Pokemon that I guess technically Pawmot would not be terrible into, saying we do quote-unquote resist the Sucker Punch damage, but I'm almost certain it would do more damage to us than our Sparks would do to them. They go for a Trailblaze against our Togetic here, and the thing is at this point, I don't want to stay in this matchup if they come back in with their Toxapex. It seems like they really tried to bait out a Fairy-type Pokemon with that safe swap. If that is the case, then if I can, I'm going to swap out here in just a second. In comes the Toxapex. Fortunately for us, they waited out the switch clock which in that situation, you really don't want to do that, right? You want to instead instantly come in with the Talk Specs, lock us in, take a lot of poison jab damage against us. But our opponent, since they did end up waiting so long here, has given us just a bit more wiggle room where I can keep our Togetic around just a little bit longer. Brian will draw our shield, and now we'll overfarm with our Pawmot. And because we're able to get to 2 wild charges before the next Brine, I can either get both shields from them right now, or permanently debuff whatever the final Pokemon is with a Brick Break. They do have to let that go. In the back, going to be a Greninja, so this is looking fantastic for us right now. They were trying to bait out a Fairy-type Pokemon, but because Greninja is a little bit scary, especially after our defense drop here, they're able to get a full farm down, just barely not able to get another Brick Break. They get a lot of energy, which could be just a little bit scary for our backline. I feel like at this point, though, the win condition is pretty clear. I just need fast moves to win this game. We come in Togetic, we no-shield the Hydro Cannon, and quick attacks should be enough to close out this match. I believe at this point the lose condition is going for a shield on the first move, knowing that a Night Slash boost into a Hydro Cannon would knock us out, whereas a Hydro Cannon first will not be enough to knock us out here, and they can now go for another Night Slash to potentially try to knock us out, but because we were able to no-shield properly on the first move, we're able to quick attack all the way down. They get the boost there at the last second, not going to matter though. GG there to our opponent. So yeah, while we were able to get a couple fun wins today, this Pokemon is not something I would ever suggest you to use. Pawmot is very squishy. It's a unique Pokemon. Electric and Fighting is a very fun typing, but on a Pokemon like this with such a bad moveset and really nothing going for it right now in this meta, it is just kind of terrible. So yeah, don't give it a try. This was a waste of a calm day in my opinion. Alright, but thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the battles and you want to see more content like this on the channel, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.